Sup guys, it's IsaacGaming227 here, and today we're going to be doing another reaction, but we're going to react to something completely different. Usually, the past two reactions I did Freeman's Kids, but this time, I'm going to react to some horror stories. It's only 4, so it's not going to really be that long. I'm going to react to all 4 of them, see if there's any scary I know, and let's get started.
This happened when I was a kid. I was in the 5th grade and my friend, let's call him Ethan, invited me over to his place. He lived right by the ocean, and if you walked through the forest for half a mile, you'd reach a nice beach with a diving board. When I got to his house, we hung out, played video games, and talked. You know, typical kid stuff. Then we decided to go to the beach. It wasn't too far away and we knew we could get back in time for dinner, so we set off. To make the trip more adventurous, we decided to bushwhack our own path. After walking a couple of minutes, we hit a tall fence. "Crap," Ethan exclaimed. "Well, I guess we'll have to go back." Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted something. The fence went about 8 meters long and then stopped. My jaw dropped. There was a house. It was an old cabin with boarded up windows.
In the middle of nowhere with fences all around it.
You could see the old insulation underneath. It was gray in color and had flecks of blue paint. The fence led up to the side of the house, stopped, and then continued on the other side. What scared me the most was that there was no road. I mean, not even a clearing to get to the road. You'd have to walk 20 minutes. "Kevin, come on!" Ethan yelled from behind me.
Did
"Look
they
at
really
this,"
just
I
climb
shouted
the
back.
fences?
Ethan walked up to me and his jaw dropped. There was no door, just a frame, and peering through the frame we could see that there was a back door, also with no frame. All we had to do was walk through the house, then we could get to the beach.
Well, at least to the beach.
I
I'm
looked
pretty
at
sure that's
Ethan.
their main
"Should we do
location
it?"
where
I
they're gonna
asked
go.
him. He shrugged. "I don't see why not," he responded. Inside the house was dark, despite the sunlight pouring in through the door.
Spiders.
We advanced slowly through the house, and
There's
Ethan
never
pointed
one
to the
abandoned
door.
place that doesn't
As we
have
reached
spiders.
the door, I peered up the stairs. I grabbed Ethan and shoved him out the door.
Yep.
"What was it?" he said as soon as we got away.
Pretty sure it was the outline
My
of
whole
a shadow
body shook.
or a
I must
person.
be going mad, I thought to myself.
Judging by the
Eventually,
face, I could tell it was a
explained it to
person.
him. As we reached the door, I wanted to take one last look at the house. I glanced up the stairs and I saw the shadowy outline of a
Yep,
person.
it was a person.
All I could see were eyes.
Black shadowy
staring
figure
back at
just
me,
smiling
and
at
a
them.
crooked grin. Ethan and I took another route back home, and we told Ethan's mom. She laughed at us and said she'd been that way many
What are they
times and there was
laughing about?
no house. And
They
we were
clearly
angry
seen a
because she
house.
didn't believe us. So we got out our cameras and went back the next day. When we got there was no house.
What?
It was just gone.
Was it
No
their
clearing,
imagination or
nothing.
something?
To this day, Ethan and I still wonder what it was. Was that man just a homeless person, or maybe he was something much, much worse? I suggested to Ethan a theory that scares me to this day. I had been reading about Russian folklore, and a page caught my attention. It was a story about a witch named Baba Yaga who had a moving house.
Oh, a witch in a
She
house
would
that has
eat
legs
naughty
on it.
children, and parents used
She
to
used to
use
eat
it to
kids.
scare children. Was this a witch? I guess we'll never know for sure.
That was weird.
I was in my early
So they
teenage
didn't see
years
our
during
house
this
at
time.
all.
My family and I went
Alright.
on vacation
Next
in a
one.
village which had a forest rumored to be haunted.
True hide and seek in the
There was a
cemetery horror
cemetery
story
in the forest.
animation.
It was a little far away from the village, near a lake. We weren't actually supposed to go to that forest, but my cousins thought it would be fun to play hide and seek at night. We were given some rules. We weren't allowed to take our phones or flashlights with us. As planned, we all met in front of our farmhouse at midnight. Me and my younger sister, who was 7 years old at that time, were the youngest out of everyone. So my older cousin decided to help us hide. He was 22 at that time, and he wanted to make sure we didn't get lost. After we chose who was going to be the seeker, we parted ways, trying to find the best hiding spot. My older cousin just wanted to win, so he took us to the cemetery. He said, "She'll obviously be too afraid to enter the cemetery. I think this will be a best hiding spot
It's just
for
like a
us."
normal game of hide and seek.
Although my younger sister
But
kept
in the
telling us not
cemetery.
to go there, we shut her off, telling her she was just a kid.
In hide and
and
seek,
would
aren't you
make us
supposed to
get
spread
caught.
out? I don't know. Why are they all like
To
together
this day, we
That makes
wish
the
we
game more
would've
fun.
listened to her.
when everyone's spread out?
It was getting darker. It was almost 2 a.m. Then all of a sudden, the
Oh,
cemetery
they left the little
lights
girl
went out.
alone.
My sister's hand tightened around my hand. My cousin was obviously scared too. We could only hear the sound of wind and stray dogs barking at the backside of the cemetery. But then, we heard digging noises. I still remember that horrifying sound. At a distance, we could see an old man with ruffled hair and dirty clothes, digging a grave with his bare hands. He was making hissing noises while he dug. All of us stood there frozen. We didn't know
Oh,
if
God,
we should
digging.
scream or run away. My cousin held our hands and started to slowly lead us to the entrance, trying not to make any noise. He whispered, "We have to get out of here."
That guy
My
needs some
sister
help.
was almost on the verge of crying. But to ruin everything, I stepped on a broken branch, making a loud noise. The stranger shot up his
How
head
you
toward our
just-
direction, and his
just
lips
randomly
curved in a
dig
creepy smile.
at someone's grave?
"Run!" my cousin yelled, quickly picking up my sister and running away as I followed closely behind them. Thankfully, the man was weak and couldn't run any faster. He stopped at the middle of the cemetery staring at us with his hazel eyes. A few days later, we found out that the man had been
Oh,
caught by
God.
the police. He was a criminal who
That
dug
guy's slow.
up dead bodies, stored drugs in them, and sent them off to other nations to sell drugs. He was caught
he got
once,
arrested.
but successfully escaped. If he wasn't so old and weak, I'm afraid that we might have ended up being a couple of dead bodies too.
Imagine a cop that bad at aiming.
Hi, my name is Alyssa, and I'm 15. A few months ago, something strange happened to me. To this day, I can't explain exactly what happened.
Did I actually?
I was
Oh,
relaxing at my house.
the mysterious
doing
girl
some
in my
schoolwork
house
on
wants
my
to play
laptop.
with me.
Being home alone never bothered
Oh,
me
God.
until then. After about 2 hours of being alone, I decided to go get some ice cream from the freezer. As I headed back with ice cream to my room, I heard someone bang on the front door. I never answer the doors, and I always make sure they're locked when my parents leave. I decided it was the mailman, and that he would set the package down and leave. Then I heard the bang again, but louder. I was confused, so I went to my dad's office since it had a window facing the front porch. The second I grabbed the door handle of his office, my parents' bedroom door slammed shut right next to me. I screamed. Our air conditioning was broken at the time, so there was no way it could have been the air. I looked at the door, ran to the other side of the house,
Yo, that's
and called my
crazy.
mom to see if she was expecting anyone over. "No, Alyssa," she said. And those two words made my heart beat faster than it ever has. My phone disconnected, and I started hearing footsteps coming towards me from down the hallway. I ran and hid behind a door in our living room. I knew I'd be out of sight, since I used to hide there as a child. I called my close friend Emily, who
How long is that
always knew
video?
how to calm me down in
Probably
crazy
like 11
situations.
minutes.
She told me to go and lock myself in my room. As she was talking, I started to hear doors open and slam shut along with footsteps, and the voice of a little girl saying, "I'm going to find you," over and over. I started crying, and when the noise stopped, I ran to my bedroom door. When I grabbed the handle and was about to go in, I heard it again. The little girl was in my room and said, "Come here, Alyssa. I want to play. Come here." I ran to the guest bathroom and locked myself in. I started to hear knocking on the bathroom door and the voice, "Don't you want to play, Alyssa? We could have a lot of fun."
Like I said, it was 11
I
minutes.
started screaming back, "Hell no, just leave me
Probably like 10.
alone."
So this is probably like a minute
She
long.
started laughing. The knocking and laughter grew louder and louder. And then it started sounding like that thing, started to walk away, still laughing and knocking. Then I couldn't hear it anymore. My grandpa came into the house yelling, "Alyssa, it's Grandpa. You can come out, you're safe." I ran as fast as I could to my grandpa. Later on, I found out that after my
Sink
phone
always
cut
be
out on my
running.
mom, she sent my grandpa to check on me. Once I told my grandpa that a little girl had gotten into the house, we went around the house searching for her, but we never found anything. All the windows and the doors were locked. The garage was closed up tight, and nothing was broken into. I hate being home alone now, and being in my room, but I've learned to deal. When I was about 9 years old, I was in my swimsuit, ready to go to swimming lessons. My brother and I had made a pillow fort, and it was still there from the night before. I had
Whoa,
crawled
that
underneath
was
the coffee
weird.
table, where a blanket went over it, blocking out the outside world. I have no idea why I stuck my foot outside of the blanket, but I did. A
Bet
dark
you
black
horror
sock
stories of
crawled
stock.
creepily towards my foot
Oh, sock.
and slowly slid over it. The sock was cold, and I felt odd. I recognized the sock. It looked just like the one my mom had. I called out my mom's name and my brother's name.
So this guy got no feet.
There was no response.
Makes no sense.
Only silence.
After
I
all, this
walked to
is
the
anime,
window,
so
but when I looked
okay.
out, there was nothing out of the ordinary. I saw my cat staring at me with a weird look on her face. Then, I was horrified when I heard the shower running upstairs.
What?
My mom was still in the shower, and my dad was at work. I ran up the stairs to find my brother spinning on the chair in my parents' room. I asked him if he went downstairs, and he told me he had nothing to do with the situation. I told my mom what had happened, but she didn't believe me. She
Oh,
said that I was
God.
probably hallucinating and that it was just the cat. But I know what I saw.
Why is there a
And the
cat on
look
the
on my
roof
cat's
just
face
smiling?
is still fresh in my memory.
That was a weird story. So apparently that kid, seeing that cat, he imagined every other person in his family having that same face. That was honestly weird. I can't imagine that happening to me. But anyways, that's the reaction. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe and see ya.